Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello and welcome. We apologise again for the slight slow start this afternoon, evening, even.
Evening.
We came in and discovered the studio in a very exciting state, isn't that right, Ben?
Yeah, we've been told there was new equipment. I think there's some stuff here. There's like another computer thing.
There's new labels on the machinery.
However, where there was once a microphone stand that meant there were two different microphones, there is now not a stand. So I'm currently hunched over like a little standless.
Yeah.
Oh, this is.
You're
this is
winging it,
ridiculous.
mate.
It's
And
like,
I'm wearing fingerless gloves. This is like Russia under the communists.
yeah, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Very disappointing.
Also, our third microphone has disappeared. So if anything, we have less equipment than we did to begin with. Not that we're complaining, Oxford.
what a
Not that we
shambles.
want you to pull our show or anything. We love you.
But if you're listening,
Where's our fucking equipment?
yeah. Anyway, it's been a while. We're in a whole new
It
slot now.
has.
Whole new slot entirely.
So we're basically prime time, I think we can safely say.
Pretty much. You know, this is when The Simpsons was on Sky One back in the day.
Yeah.
Important stuff. Yeah. 7 p.m. It's a
I was
good time.
born at 7 p.m.
How do you know? Do you remember? Wow.
I think they give you a little bit of paper. I wasn't actually born at 7 p.m.
Oh, okay.
I was born at 1 a.m., but I thought I'd say I was born at 7 p.m.
Just for the
the
banter.
lulz, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, technically, I wasn't really born at all, but I was born by cesarean section. So to be honest, the doctors could have chosen any moment in time to have me born.
And
They could have had a little timer and been like, oh, 10 to 10, it's a comedy town.
Yeah.
Sounds like a place in Surrey.
Yeah, man. So anyway, some of you viewers haven't heard us before. You know, you might just be a casual Oxide Radio listener, just tunes in at 7 every day to see what's on. Well, it's us. Claire, should we explain what it is we're about?
I think we should, yeah. We're called Procrastinators Anonymous, if you haven't guessed that already. Interestingly, we're not ourselves anonymous. The anonymity is down to you, listeners. You listen to us sneakily, under your duvets, I like to imagine.
Do you? Wow.
Deviously.
Raunchy
Yes.
stuff.
Raunchy stuff. You keep our recordings under your bed with your old Playboys.
We've got an exciting show in store for you today. We assume, but because we mostly improvise, so it's hopefully going to be very exciting. We've got some crazy stuff.
I nearly died on the way down to the studio today, so anything else is enough.
Did you? Could you elaborate on that story, Claire?
We ended up talking about our bike incidents quite a lot on this show. Ben had his bike stolen last term. I had mine stolen this term. Still a bit sore about that, to be honest. But I now have a new bike. It's lovely. I was sort of cycling down here today, being like, yeah, check me out with my new bike. And then nearly ran over into several pedestrians because I've decided the rule with pedestrians, if you're not someone I know and like, you're basically in my way. And everyone tonight was in my way.
To be fair, you were cycling on the pavement, so it was a little...
I was cycling on that pedestrianised bit outside the Westgate Centre.
The pavement.
The pavement. Oh, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That's why. With a curvy thing at the side.
Yeah, that's the one.
And as I was cycling past the covered market, doing a fantastic skid, I would like to point out, I saw a couple fornicating on one of the deserted stalls of the market.
Actually,
wow. Well,
wow.
they had clothes on, but I suspected if I'd hung around a bit longer, the clothes would no longer.
What stall was it?
It was not the covered market. The place on Gloucester Green.
Oh no, there was some interesting jokes there.
You were hanging next to nothing. It was next to nothing, ladies.
I was going to say something much worse. I was going to ask if it was the fishmongers.
Or cheese.
Yeah. How many viewers? How many listeners have we lost already with that check?
We don't actually have anyone on the chat show at present. I've just logged in.
Do we not?
This makes us very upset, listeners.
Yeah.
If you're listening, please type into your computery magical shiznicks, which you have placed in front of you, www.oxideradio.co.uk/chat, or if you can't quite handle the /, go on to Oxide Radio. You can even Google it if you're that much of a pansy. Click on chat room, log in, and please communicate with us. We are starved of your contact.
Where is the cult following that we amassed?
It's so cold,
year?
Ben. So cold that it's not even visible to the naked eye.
Oh no.
Speaking of cult followings, if you are indeed a member of this little cult that follows us, please do check out our blog, which is new, and I'm very excited about it. It's got hyperlinks where if you hover your mouse over it, they turn different colours, but not in an HTML site way. But yes, please go to procrastinatorsonradio.wordpress.com. Yeah, we're too much pussies not to have a proper domain name, but never mind. Get on there and you will find out lots of information about latest shows and whatnot coming up.
I like the features you named. Hyperlinks. It has not just any kind of links, you know.
Hyperlinks.
Hyperlinks.
Not hypolinks.
Yeah.
No.
My favourite kind of links.
Yeah.
Apart from the deodorant. Actually, I don't like the deodorant.
I like the animal. Yeah. I tell you what I found out about recently.
Yeah.
I found out I was doing a Latin translation yesterday, because that's how I roll. And Latin translation is quite an interesting thing to do because very often somebody before you who translated the document in like, I don't know, the 18th century or something, will have come up with a translation which is a word that nobody uses in English anymore. So, for instance, tawny is used quite a lot. I would never look at someone and be like, what tawny hair you have, unless they're an owl, in which case it would be fine.
What does it mean?
It sort of means like a kind of browny, golden, yellow colour for hair. So tawny flaxen, like the girl with the flaxen hair. What does that come up?
What does flaxen mean?
It's like sort of golden ringlets. They're very Aryan, the Romans, very obsessed with golden hair.
If you just tuned in, you're currently listening to Ben and Claire's vocabulary hour. Nothing but words and their meanings. Yeah.
But the word that particularly caught my interest was the word pard, P-A-R-D, and I was like, what the fuck?
I've heard the word pard. You ever heard pard? Like, oh, you got pard, mate. You know?
Well,
I've never heard that.
I've never heard of that one either. What does it mean?
You know, like pard, like it's bad. You got dissed.
Like you're now.
I'm down with the kids.
I used to be down with the kids.
Not one of these toffee Oxford students. Me, yeah.
I don't like toffee. But that's neither here nor there, listeners. But anyway, this word pard, P-A-R-D. I looked it up, and it's actually a fictional, sort of mythical beast that people in up until the medieval times believed in. And they thought that it was it's a sort of like spotty wild animal, which is why Ben's talking about.
Claire, are you thinking of a leopard? Because that's not mythical.
Funny you should say that. The idea of a pard is that it mated with a lion, sort of Leo is the Latin for lion, to produce a leopard, a leopard. So rather than just accepting that leopards are animals in their own right, people in medieval times decided to invent a reason for how they came about by the fact that lions were ruthlessly buggered by pards, vicious pards of the night, thus creating lion pards, and it just seemed very peculiar.
I'm going to stop you there because part of being good broadcasters is not to spread misinformation. If they were buggered by the lions, they wouldn't have produced offspring.
Well, that's all that the medieval people knew. That was their excuse. They were like, buggery definitely causes procreation. I shall do it more.
Yeah.
All pleasure and no children for me.
See, when we were back in the 11 p.m. slot, the whole, the buggery thing was fine. We were post Watershed.
Yeah.
There are little children listening to this thinking, there are little kids who are going to be like, who are going to go up to their mothers and say, Mummy, what does buggery mean? And their parents are just going to have to say, well, it's when your girlfriend really, you know how they sort of explain sex, well, when a mummy and daddy really love each other, you have to explain, well, when a mummy and daddy really love each other. So, this is going to be a bit of an awkward moment for a lot of households out there. So, I greatly apologise. If you have any complaints, write to us straight away. We love them. So, yeah.
We haven't had any complaints yet, actually, which is we've had a very good comment on our blog from Brian Kahn, who is a mutual friend of ours, who apparently has a wank every time he listens to this show and enjoys it greatly.
It's turned to debauchery immediately.
I'm only quoting what I was told.
It's not normally like this, listeners. It's normally very clean stuff. Yeah. Also, we shouldn't have admitted he was a mutual friend of ours. We could have sounded kind of cool,
What, like, this is guy from Brian Kahn
who random person who
lives in New York. We've never met him, but he's a music producer and he wants to take us on with music, but with us speaking over the top of it, and it'll be awesome. And I will end every sentence with a question from now on, because that's how cool I am. Yeah.
Like from up north, it's amazing.
Down straight.
Yeah. We should probably put some music on at some point.
As well, yeah. We're just trying to get to grips with all this new, exciting.
Yeah.
Should we have some Ian Jury?
Yeah, let's have a little bit of Ian Jury.
We were having a little chat recently, because all our housemates were watching Sex, Drugs and Rock and Roll at the unholy hour of 4 a.m.
We're so cool. Sometimes
we take shisha.
Yeah,
and
we don't taste it, we smoke it even. It's crazy.
I take it.
We're trying to eat it first until someone explained to us that's not what you're supposed to do.
We basically ate it too, because I don't know if any of you have ever done shisha, but
did we?
Yeah, well, to begin with, because you sort of buy the molasses and you have to store it in the fridge, and we ended up storing it in an uncovered container in the fridge when we first bought it, and it was lemon scented molasses, so it was quite pungent, with the result that everything in our fridge just tasted of shisha for the following weeks. Which was quite unfortunate.
Yeah, the worst bit is when I actually drank the lemonade that had been in the fridge, and it was so lemony.
It was a urine
I just went on this massive, trippy, lemony binge, I was just in a world of lemons, just floating around, singing lemony songs to me. It was crazy.
I read an article about lemons recently.
Actually, go on.
It's about a guy who, I think he's a BBC correspondent in Israel, and obviously, Middle East, water kind of doesn't really, quite a precious commodity out there.
Yeah.
And he was saying that he felt guilty for having a lemon tree imported from Britain, and then he had his own personal irrigation system which sprinkled it at set hourly intervals. and he felt responsible for the drought in the Middle East, and frankly, he should. We have Sweet Jean Vincent and I Want to Be Straight on the Endurance.
Let's go for I Want to Be Straight.
I Want to Be Straight. Yes, I'm sick and tired of taking drugs and staying up late. Good stuff indeed.
Yeah.
We've just had a bit of an exciting incident happen during the playing of that song.
Oh, very exciting.
Very exciting. I received a phone call on my phone from a withheld number, which is always quite exciting. You think, potential rapist might break the monotony. Went downstairs.
They can't rape you through the phone, you know, Claire.
Apparently you can, according to a lawyer friend of mine.
What?
Who is known to do it. I don't know, I think it is presumably like sexting without consent.
Oh, okay.
Obviously not as serious as taking someone up an alleyway, but obviously... Anyway, this is taking a rather dark turn. Suffice it to say, I received a phone call, and it was someone telling me that the pizza... It was quite a broken line. They told me that the pizza that I'd ordered was downstairs and ready for collection. Now, I don't recall ordering a pizza. Ben, I assume you didn't order a pizza on my phone.
I don't recall you ordering a pizza either.
I got briefly annoyed with you, turned out you hadn't, it was fine. Went downstairs and got this pizza thrust into my hands, which apparently I had to pay for, so I sort of argued with him for a bit. I was very aware I had to get back up here, professionalism is all.
And we are so professional.
We are so fucking professional, ladies and gents. So professional, I just swore at 7pm. So we have an Oxide budget. We don't. Which I gave him a £5 and he went on his merry way. And we now have this pizza sitting between us. I'm not sure whether we should eat it or if it's for someone else in the building. But if so, how did they get my phone number? I'm not really sure what's going on.
Strange.
Do you want some pizza?
I'm alright, actually.
I was taking myself for dinner. I'm going to have a vegetarian chicken Kiev when I get home. Quite looking forward to that.
Beautiful.
It's going to be nice.
Oh.
But yeah, so back again after the VAC. We're still expecting people in our chat room at the moment, having quite a quiet night, so I suppose we ought to make our own entertainment.
To be fair, Claire, if you're listening to us, you'll be listening so intently.
That's true.
Never,
the sound of the typing might cloud on nuanced voices.
I think it's fair enough.
And it has been a while as well, to be fair. Listeners are eager, especially Wrapped, whilst listening to us, because obviously we broke up a little bit earlier than the end of term because I was foolish enough to contract pneumonia, for which I apologise.
Oh, here's a running thing. If you were one of our old listeners who's, as you would religiously sort of followed us to our new time slot,
charted the progression of my pneumonia.
You might remember Claire being ill all the time last term.
There was episode 2 when I had a cough, episode 3 when I passed out.
It wasn't just a really bad running joke, ladies and gentlemen. She had pneumonia.
Not that funny. Yeah, I had pneumonia. It was quite awkward actually because I assumed it was just a cold, and obviously there's this Oxford thing that you're not allowed to get ill. So I was convincing myself it will go away. No, it was fine. It will go away. I kept giving it a day. This dragged on for about 6 weeks eventually. And my Latin tutor got quite annoyed at me, reasonably, as I was sort of failing to produce work. And she sent me an email saying, "Are you sure you don't have pneumonia? ? All the best." And then the tutor's name. And I was like, "Oh, what a silly old bat. Of course I don't have pneumonia." Went to the doctor's 2 days later. Kind of did. So there we go. But, I'm all better now. And how are you feeling today?
Oh, me?
Feeling well, yeah. How are your...
Oh, I thought you were talking to the...
How's your immune system? I don't give a crap about listeners.
I feel temporarily forgotten how radio... They can't talk back, Claire. I'm absolutely fine, thank you.
Jolly good.
Yeah, I don't know. I've had an interesting week. I went to. I've done that thing that everyone says they might do at some point in their Oxford career. I went to a lecture that was for a different subject.
Oh, wow.
I went to like
a
basic psychiatry lecture. It was all about Freud. It was crazy, dude. I can interpret dreams now. Just tell me a dream. Give me any dream, and I'll interpret it.
Well, if I recall correctly, Freud is essentially about relationships with mothers and penises. So to make this extra hard for you, I'm going to have to craft a dream that does not involve either, ostensibly. So, I was skipping wildly through a field of hay, upon which a branch of KFC sprang up out of the ground. I pootled in and a priest was behind the counter and he asked me if I wished to purchase something, upon which I broke into a lively rendition of Edelweiss from The Sound of Music and then I woke up.
Okay.
Interpret that bit.
Okay. The field... is your penis envy?
Of course.
What was it?
I do have quite a lot.
What was it in a tree?
KFC branch.
The KFC branch with a dick. Edelweiss is your mum, and the priest is your mum with a dick.
Ah.
That's Freud.